everybody, and welcome along to the 12 Hours of BRNO. It's round 3 of the European part of the Hankook 12 Hours Endurance Series for 2019. We're at the Automotodrome BRNO, which is bathed in sunshine. A little bit of white fluffy cloud out in the distance, but really it's a gorgeous, gorgeous day. We started off with our first round of the season in January. That was one of the Champion of the Continents series. That's the 24 Hours of Dubai. Then at Mugello and Spa in the European series. After BRNO, we're off to another 24-hour race, the first of the European twice round the clock events. That's in the early part of July at Portimao right in the south of Portugal. Then it's Barcelona from the end of August through to the beginning of September, another 24-hour race, and we finish off the whole season, both the European Championship and the Championship of the Continents, with the final 2 races of the year, Barcelona for Europe, and then we're off to COTA at Circuit of the Americas, Austin, in the middle week of November. I'm John Hindorf. The booth team is Johnny Palmer and Paul Truswell. Down the pit lane, Joe Bradley. But first, here's Nick Damon. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everybody, from a beautiful Friday morning still here in Brno in the Czech Republic, about 2 hours from Prague, the second city of the Czech Republic. Looks like it's going to be a quiet start to the TCE qualifying. No one's really rushing out. They've got 45 minutes, so it's plenty of time. Not too many cars either, so it's not going to be traffic issues. Plenty of the TC cars you see just thinking about warming up, but no one creeping down to the end of the pit lane and getting ready to go yet, John. But as soon as some action, you'll see them streaking past you before I see them with your marvellous vantage you have up there.
Yes, if you just go up from Nick and look at the control tower. Point up there, Nick, thank you. There we are in the green building. I used to have a building set when I was a bit younger that you could build little buildings like that for your Airfix HO00 railway and things like that. And, I suppose you're a bit too young for things like that, JP.
I know HO and 00.
Yeah.
HO slightly more scale accurate, but 00 more commercially available.
It was the same colour as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
That kind of murky green, which never got dirty, however mucky you got it. It was just always that dirty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where the music's coming from.
It's very grandiose, though, isn't it? I mean, this is almost like the start of the race.
Are we just hearing that over the PA, or is that just in my head? I know I've got.
I thought this was the fanfare that you organised to every track that you went to.
Nick, what was that?
That was a fanfare.
Before the circuit commentators began stuff, I thought that was me hallucinating with my 24-hour late onset hemorrhagic.
Hang on. I want a fanfare. If the circuit commentator gets a fanfare, I want a fanfare. Otherwise, I'm phoning my agent right now. Nick needs a fanfare.
Get that on your rider, son. Get that on your rider, along with the blue M&Ms. If you are just joining us wherever you are around the world, RS1 for audio. Maybe you're sitting quietly at work with the headset on. We have got sound and vision, of course, through the player at radio-show.co.uk and on the 24H series website as well, where you'll also find live timing and scoring, which is outstanding as ever. In fact, actually, there's more there than we can even look at. Paul has more screens, and I've actually managed to I brought a proper computer this time, so I'm busily sorting things out on a second screen now. I aspire to be Paul Truswell with all the screens, but you've got too many keyboards for my liking, though. That would worry me.
The number of times I go to the wrong mouse, you wouldn't know. I was slightly concerned, as I said to you a moment ago. We had times up on the live timing screen on raceresults.nu. Hope you're following the live timing on that. They were showing us GT qualifying, and of course this starts with the TCE qualifying, and we've had a delay to the start. Should have started about 15 seconds ago. We haven't yet started, but we are going to get underway about a minute late, we are advised.
Okay.
And I just wonder whether the timekeeping system has to be reset to get us onto this, as Nick Damon was just saying, TCE 45 minutes and only 12 TCE cars in the division this time, so less than we have had in the past, but it does mean we get more GT cars later on, I suppose. Every cloud has its silver lining.
I'll have a silver lining as a cloud.
Refueling area is at the end of the pit lane.
Good point.
And again, if you're a Creventic regular, you'll be expecting to see the little red F that comes up on the left-hand column of the screen to tell you when cars enter the refueling area. BRNO doesn't have a sensor in the right place to tell us when they go into the fueling area, so we won't be able to tell on our screens when cars are in the refueling area or not. We'll be able to tell as and when we see pictures of them, and the pit crew can tell us.
Green flag is out. 45 minutes is counting down. Nick Damon is with Vincent Rademacher, but first, a bit of counting.
Yes, I made the massive trip to the petrol station. Well, I stuck my head round the edge of the pit lane, and there are 8 petrol pumps for this event, so that's 1 for every 4 cars, so should avoid too many problems. But as I say, Vincent Rademacher just in front of the 188 Audi for AC Motorsport. Vincent, you got 45 minutes, so no real stress.
No, because we are not qualifying the car. I mean, we are not going for fast lap because we're struggling a little bit on the race setup, and we want to continue to do race setup during the qualifying. So it's 12 hours, so starting first or 4 or 5 on the grid will not change anything. And we really need to work on the setup. The track, I think many people have the problem. The track are really hard on tires. And we want to have a good car for the race and not for quali.
Yeah, it seems to be certainly the front-wheel drive cars especially are having an issue with tyre wear. So how quickly are you currently getting through a set?
It depends on the setup. It's why we are working on the setup, of course. And we start the car on setup we know, and we know it works well on Spa, Mugello or Dubai. But here it's not working. So we have to change everything, and we change already a lot. We are on the good way, but not completely satisfied. So we continue to try to have the best cars possible for the race.
Vincent, thank you and good luck. Cheers, mate.
Just looking at times from 2016 in the ballpark of the classes that are out on track now. So TCR, which we didn't technically have as a class 3 years ago, but there were TCR spec cars in the race, Class A3 and just the one SP3 BMW. There was, for those with reasonably long memories, an LMS Engineering Audi TT, which did a lap of 209.4. I'm expecting the TCRs possibly to be a little bit slower than that, though. So the Rick Breukers, Ivo Breukers, Moni Kront and Maxim Aronov Seat in those days did a 2:14.2 as a fastest lap in the race, and in qualifying down in the 2:12s. So maybe with 3 years of improvement for these cars, maybe a 2:12, maybe even just into the 2:11s.
What class was the Breukers car in?
That's a very good question.
Because
2016.
2016, sorry. Yes, it was 2016 for the 24-hour epilogue, and 2015 was the 12-hour epilogue.
It was in SP3.
Yeah, I think that's not going to be as quick. Sorry, I think that's going to be quicker than we'll see in TCR configuration here. I think it's close. I think we'll be about 2:14.
Okay.
Bear in mind, as Vincent Rademacher was saying, that it is warm, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Ooh,
and KPP going off there. That's why the exclamation from Johnny Palmer. It did take
that was
Bessem as long as it took Johnny to exhale.
Spin.
Yes, to get off the circuit and nose in to the barriers on drivers left at turn 3 into turn 4. Yes, very, very odd accident that. He's got it pointing back in the right direction now, but he did just hit the wall very slightly. Very slightly.
Heis Bessem was taking part in the race in 16 with Harry Hilders. That's the NKPP entry, 175, and Harry back again. So the only guy they don't have this year is Rob Rapanga. So 2-driver entry for 175. Well,
That's all it was, isn't it? It
No
just
heat
gets
in the
away.
rears.
He steers into the skid, which is exactly what you do in a front-wheel drive car. And he's spinning the front Hankooks up because all 4 wheels are leaving black marks on the road, but it just didn't pull itself straight.
No, and thankfully he didn't hit the Armco, because that would have been significant damage to the nose of the NKPP Cupra TCR. So it just went beyond the Armco barrier. There is a little bit of overlap there where cars can be scooted off the track and into a safe area, but thankfully it is cushioned Armco barrier with tyres and with one of those rubber belts across the front of it. So it literally nosed into the barrier and came back out again with barely a scratch on it. So he'll be able to carry on, but those Hankook tyres will be rather second-hand as a result of that.
112, Antti Buuri, the fastest in that opening skirmish, whilst hope there wasn't a yellow flag out when Antti went through the first sector there. 2 minutes 14.814. So they're going as fast as I thought they were going to go. We might get to lower than
I think there's room for improvement, but we're never going to get to the 12s or the 11s, as I was suggesting.
Precisely. So 2:14.814. That's Antti Buuri in the Autorama VW. Second fastest is Rolf Redding, car number 103. It's a TTC racing car. That's the Swiss chocolate coloured car. We'll give it its mention. It's a, as I say, rather strange colour, difficult to describe. But the 103, Rolf Redding, then he's gone second quickest, 2:17.4, and then third quickest is the Hyundai of Jan Engelbrecht, car number 130, the Danish entry, 2:17.7. Those are the only really quick laps on that opening little skirmish.
So Buuri 14.8. Redding 17.4, Engelbrecht 17.7, and then everybody else taking their time to get to a competitive time. The 869 BMW is driven by Axel Berghardt, and it is in the 869 being in the A3 class. 3 cars in that category, and FK8 shaped Honda Civic Type R. The treble 6 BMW E46, which is, now that's labelled as a 123D, so diesel car, therefore a diesel pump, or not? Because Nick described there being petrol pumps there, but I know it's been a little while since we've had the need for diesel. And the E46 has got me scratching my head now as to whether that will have a pump to itself, effectively, in the race. 869 heading down towards the left and right flick. This is halfway round the lap. And Axel Berghardt, yes, in the middle sector now and has improved through the first sector. The treble 6, though, with the giant rear wing, the Kolbel-sponsored machine, is setting its first time in the session.
Is that the diesel car?
That is the diesel
car,
car,
that's
yes.
the BMW that I saw on very grainy circuit TV earlier on, smoking like mad, and I thought, oh, that doesn't look good. But now that I know it's a diesel, that's standard operational procedure. Down to Nick in a moment. Hello to Right Turn Lover, who's doing some sneaky on-the-side listening at work on RS1, and good to hear that you're listening. Simon Hoff says that wasn't a fanfare, it was just all of Paul Trustwell's computers starting up Windows at the same time. Yeah. And Yoda's uncle, hello Yoda's uncle, listening, he is, enjoying, he will. He said when you were doing down the rundown of the 24-hour series calendar, when you got to the Barcelona race, I was expecting to hear Freddie and Montserrat, midweek motorsports. The 175 is going back out again. Nick Damon was watching the Baz Cooten car. That was the one that had the little slide and the little dinky off.
Yes.
And it was a dinky and an off.
He dinked it. He was off. They had a first of all, you have to take the bits of grass out of the air intake, including some very nice kind of long hay seeds, the ones you see kind of farmers eating in the past. A couple of those were there. And then they had a look at the front wheels, it was all all right. And then, quite as an afterthought, they suddenly noticed that the front wing ahead of the wheel was split. So they kicked it a couple of times to keep it away from the wheel. And then I thought, use some very half-hearted duct tape. 3 vertical strips. I mean, I know they've only got to get through qualifying, but honestly, not top duct taping at all from
really?
Kooten. I'm going to have a word about it later. But it has gone out, still with high specimen on board, and realistically, that's not going to affect anything in the short term.
Thank you, Nick. This track is an awesome challenge for drivers and for setup engineers as well. Out on the circuit at the moment, Rick Breukers is just warming up the Hankooks on the 101 Red Camel Jordan.NL Cupra, and he heads out round the circuit, sitting in 11th position at the moment, but hasn't really set things off. Comes up onto the start-finish line now with the pit lane on the right-hand side, heading down towards turn 1, which is almost a big hairpin. Get right down towards the 100-metre board, turn in early, clip the red, white and light blue curbs, and then let the car drift, then pull it back, get onto the throttle again. You can take the AstroTurf on the left-hand side, but just mind the little strip of gravel. Set yourself up to the right-hand side of the road, under the advertising hoarding, which has got nothing on this weekend. End of the curbing on the left-hand side is a good braking point. Turn in, looses the back end, exactly as Heis Bessem did earlier on in his Cupra. Through turn 3, now through turn 4. And again, using all of the exit, just starting to go a little bit downhill here. 2 right-handers coming up. Halfway down the curb, there's a little entry road there that's your braking point. Don't have to hit the apex on the inside there, because the second of the right-handers way more important. There's a little tyre stack on the inside there, on that right-hander that you need to keep away from. And on the left-hander, drifts a little bit wide in the middle of the left-hander at 6, but that's all right, because again, that's a double apex corner. Now, bit of braking for 7 and 8 as he turns in. And you're dropping downhill now, and there have been some very strategically placed tyre stacks put on the apices of the corners. Heading down now towards turn 10, which is the lowest part of the circuit. Get the car tucked in here, and then just hold on and be patient on the throttle. Down to the bottom of the hill. 11 and 12, left-right flick. And he's getting the back end of that Cupra to rotate very nicely. You have to think of those as one corner as well. Stay off the sausage curbs on the inside, upsets the car. Climbing steeply now to the final 2 corners that'll bring him back onto the start-finish line. Again, the road coming in from the right is your braking point. Misses the apex on the left-hand side. But that's important to get the correct clipping point on the right-hander to get you back on the start-finish straight. And that was a decent lap, it looked to me, from the 101 car. And the time was, Paul?
2 minutes 14.369.
The fastest lap we've seen.
Fastest lap we've seen, including those times which have been disallowed, because whilst you were describing that lap, we were getting a list of cars who have all had times disallowed, including the one that was quickest, the Lestrup Racing Team VW, the Danish car, car number 110, having a lap time disallowed, which was a 2 minutes 15.1. It was was a 2 minutes 14.5. 2 minutes 14.5, but that time from Rick, 2 minutes 14.3, 0.2 of a second quicker, takes it to the overall top. Other cars to have times disallowed, 334, the ABBA Racing BMW has these are all at, not all at turn 2, mostly at turn 2, a couple of them being disallowed for exceeding track limits at turn 10. So 334, 110, 666 and 107 all getting lap times disallowed for exceeding the track limits. But Rick Breukers, it would seem, we haven't yet been told that there was... did you go off the circuit at all when you were doing that lap jump?
No, I didn't. When I was was teaching Rick where to go there.
But you always say you never went off. But anyway,
I very seldom go off the circuit, and if I do, it always costs me time because I've made a horrendous mistake and I'm doing a 3-point turn somewhere in a runoff area. Thank goodness for all the new runoff at the straight on at Goddard's. I did a couple of U-turns in there in the radical race a month or so ago now.
it'll be interesting to see actually how the ABBA Commercials BMW gets on. It's strictly speaking, it's an SP3 class car, but running as a TCE division car just for this weekend. This is Richard and Sam Neary sharing that car with Charlie Lamb, and they are, say, the only car in the SP3 class, but they want to be able to compete against somebody, so they're being run as a TCE division class car, and their fastest lap so far are 2 minutes 14.690, which is good enough for second place overall. So or it was.
I have a small...
Sorry,
good,
Nick.
Good performance there from Richard Neary. It is behind the wheel of the BMW at the moment. Nick, you have something to tell us.
You have something small to tell us about. Nick.
Something small logistical update. The 666 car, the BMW 123D, went past me and turned right, which is how you get to the fuel stops. Now, obviously, in my previous perambulation down there, I stated there were 8 petrol pumps, all supplied by your good old-fashioned supermarket pistol grip, thinking, ooh, there's a diesel. I had a better look. In fact, I went a bit further round and turned the corner, and there's a big bucket of diesel, well, a kind of a trough of diesel for the 666, but that's being driven by a sort of a Heath Robinson hand-cranked pump.
No way.
Yeah, it's not running from a proper fuel pump. It's a big tank with a hand-crank pump, and I think it's got a pistol grip on the end of it. But yeah, I suppose as the only diesel, they have enough advantage in fuel economy anyway. But yes, there's a big tank of diesel.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. Nick has... I've still got a diesel car. Yours is petrol, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Paul's got 2 petrols.
3 petrols now.
Bradders is a diesel. I'm transitioning out of diesel at the moment.
Won't be long before we're all talking about how many electric cars we've got.
It'll be a very long time before you hear me talking about that, Paul.
So if Richard Neary really is 2 seconds a lap slower than son Sam, then he's got the car fairly well set up. His fastest thus far has been a 2 minutes 14.669, which is less than a second off the current TCE division pole. So every prospect for Sam to get in the car and go perhaps a little bit quicker and put the BMW on the pole. We'll have to wait and see. Come the race, the BMW is going to be handicapped to the extent that it's going to have to be refueling more often. They have this dynamic BOP for the BMW, which means that the faster it goes, the more often it has to come in for fuel, or the less fuel that it's allocated at each pit stop. So that ends up having the same effect of making it do more pit stops. Richard was telling me yesterday that he expects to have to do at least 2 extra stops over the course of the race, possibly 3. But if they can get the car to go more quickly, then he reckons he'll still be in with a shout of being the overall TCE division winner.
The car, by the way, being wheeled down the pit lane currently, 409, the Senka Motorsport BMW. We're not going to see that till the second of the 45-minute sessions. I was confused briefly there. It's caught a glimpse of that car with several mechanics on the rear, but they're just positioning it onto the pit lane apron. The Lestrup Golf back out again. Marcus Fluch with another attempt to get pole position. He was there briefly, going purple through, I think, all 3 sectors, but then within about 20 seconds had that lap time deleted, and that was because of an infringement possibly at turn 2. I forget now. It was the 110 car. Turn 10, hasn't it? What wasn't it?
That's a new one. That's the one at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, so we've had treble 6 and 110 penalised for, I'm guessing, running wide on the exit at 10.
Exits, yeah, exits. Yeah. There's curbing, that very distinctive red, white, and very light, almost an eggshell Hyundai N shade of blue. But then there's a strip of AstroTurf, very bright green AstroTurf on most of the exits before you get into any gravel trappage that's around that sort of area. Just getting down to there at the moment, the 188. In fact, just starting a lap, I think the 188. No, I was right. That was exactly turn 10. And you can make up a heck of a lot of time there. Although, in fairness, absolutely, if you go very wide there, it ruins your entry into turn 11. The 188 at the moment, I hope, is still... Who's in that car? Vincent Rademacher? Yes. I hope he's warming his tyres up, because otherwise he's got a big problem with the back end of the car. Yes, he is. He's waving on the straight now. The AC Motorsport Audi RS3 LMS DSG to give it its full title.
That's his first outlap in the session, John. So we're nearly 20 minutes into the 45. And Vincent did tell Nick that he wasn't going to be going for a qualifying type of time, but he's not using the time that he's got to do the setup.
An awful lot of rubber offline, even on the main straight already here. And I would have thought with the rain that we had yesterday, that wouldn't be the case. The Audi dangling its right rear wheel through turn 1. Amazing how Vincent switched between tyre warming mode and getting through the final corner onto the front straight in the most efficient, economic of movement and quick way to start his lap in that red, white and black Audi RS3 through turn 3 and into turn 4 now. And has a very, very clear track ahead of him. Runs the left-hand side. Hankook's onto the green AstroTurf as he's going slightly downhill towards turn 4, turn 5, excuse me. Late turn in here, sort of apexing at the start of the sausage curb. 5 and 6, 7 and 8 come very quickly indeed, and you have to think of them as a complex. Oh, huge slide from Rademacher. Holds onto it, but you would have thought that car was a rear drive car there. That's how cold the rear tyres were, or how little grip the Hankooks were giving there. That was a full flat slide. He wasn't cocking a wheel there. Gets grip through 9 and 10. But Johnny Palmer watching that was extraordinary how that car just broke away. Back end sliding round. As I say, you would have thought that was a rear drive car.
Yeah, and Joe making the point to my right, the speed it was going was virtually walking pace, and then the back end stepped out. So what's that down to?
Low grip track. It's a very low grip track.
But for some reason, even though we've got heat in the day, presumably no heat in the track at the moment.
I'm guessing that they're going with, I don't know whether they've gone with very high pressures to start with, because they're
they've tried
to get heat in the tyres.
Because he said everything we tried at Mugello, everything we tried at Spa is not working here at BRNO, and that's the reason why it's taken them basically half the session to get involved, because the amount of work being done by the team to try something else. They're not even close to attempting in a qualifying lap yet. This is purely for race setup.
Yeah, 23 minutes to go. He comes across the line. He's 5th in the TCR part of this qualifying, 2:16.2, but that's fully 2 seconds away from the fastest time set by Rick Breukers. He is the fastest. Oh, he's the only Audi, isn't he? So, but the Cupra, the Volkswagen Golf, the 2 Volkswagen Golfs ahead of him, and the Audi are all essentially the same chassis, although aficionados of TCR will tell you there are more than subtle differences to the bodywork. There is some chassis difference as well, although they're built on the same platform, and all built by Seat Sport, of course, in their facility. But that did not look like a happy car at all for Vincent Rademacher.
It's, I suspect it's all to do with setup. I was talking to the Red Camels team yesterday, and they were searching a setup yesterday that was well balanced. It was too understeery, and then they changed the brakes, and all of a sudden it became too oversteery. So it's getting the balance of the car right that is what they're looking to. Rick Breukers is incidentally back out on the circuit, as is in the 334 now Sam Neary taking over the Team ABBA Racing BMW. So we've got Breukers in 101, Sam Neary in the ABBA BMW number 334.
And one of the teammates of the man on pole, it's his dad, Ivo Breukers. Ivo, for the past 3 or 4 years, one of your sons has been handing your backside to you at every race. Now you've got a second son to hand your backside to you.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrying. They're both fast, but it's really enjoying to race with your sons, and we're having a great time talking about cars all day, all night, and it's really great.
So it's Luke Breukers, who's the new guy. So give us a bit of background for Luke. How old is he? How much racing has he done?
He's 19 years old. He started racing a little bit later. He hadn't done the karting like Rick before. But he was helping Creventic a lot as well, and he got affected by the virus, and he's doing quite well.
So is he quicker than you?
In Dubai, at certain points he was quicker. In Dubai he did the TCR Middle East, and especially that track, sometimes he was a little bit quicker, but still have a lot of more experience.
So you've got about, what, 2 races, and that's it then? And then they go, Dad, don't get in the car, you're ruining our chances.
Let's hope so. I mean, I've passed the point that I'm concerned that my sons are being faster. So you're not just enjoying driving and racing together.
But the important point is, you're always the man who signs the checks.
That's true, and so they will still need me.
Thanks, Ivo. Ivo Breukers from the 101 Red Camels Jordan team.
Yeah, he might have taught them all they know, but he hasn't taught them all he knows. He's a wily old fox behind the wheel of a car, is Ivo Breukers. And actually, Luke Breukers was the man who did the scrutineering of all my Valero race kit at a couple of years ago at Circuit of the Americas, part of the administrative checks for Creventic. So, as Ivo says there, has been embroiled in racing for some time, even though he wasn't racing himself. Antti Burry just going out in the Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Racing, Volkswagen Golf.
New fastest lap from Rick, 2 minutes 13.642. So they're splitting the difference between Johnny's prediction and mine now. They're well under mine and heading towards Johnny's. Rick Breukers then on that last lap. 2 minutes 13.642. And that is as fast as anybody. Sam Neary is not that far behind him on the track and has just gone through now, completing his first flying lap. But it's not as quick as Richard went earlier on. So Sam has done a 2:15.4 on that last lap, let's say his first flying lap, whereas Richard earlier on did a 2:14.69.
It was a drive shaft, we found out from that car, from the Neary car earlier on.
That broke in the first free
practice. Yeah, Vincent Rademacher just clipped the curb on the inside of the corner, which seemed to unduly unsettle the rear end when that car kicked sideways.
Into the pits now.
And has come into the pits, yes. And as Paul just mentioned, a new fastest lap, 2:13.6. Marcus Fluch came into the pits. He'd done a best sector 1, but then peeled off before finish. Let's go down to Nick Damon, who's with Honda and Synchro Motorsport. Just the 2 drivers this weekend, Dan Wheeler and Alan James. Alan James is behind the wheel at the moment, fastest in that 676 of the 3 A3 cars.
Yeah, and making my job easy for him. He sent someone over saying, Adam would like to talk to you now. So let's have with him.
Oh, really?
Alan,
Mr. Jones, we'll see you now.
Yeah, we're just fighting front grip. We seem to be really struggling, and the initial turn-in's great. After that, we really struggle since the power comes in. We have made some mods to the engine, but I don't think we've gained that much power.
Yeah, I think you'll find that most of the front-wheel drive cars are finding this track very tricky and the usual setup's not working. Are you trying to drive round it or try to set up round it?
The driver in me just wants to go faster and faster, but the engineer inside is probably thinking, if it's nice to know if everyone else is having the same issue, but it's just frustrating as a driver just have to wait so long to put the power down, but it might be that's what it is.
Several races now into this new car. Do you obviously this track-specific issue apart, do you feel you're now getting to know the machine well?
With every weekend, we're moving forward quite a way with it, and there's still a lot to come. You know, we're still running the manual gearbox, so we've got a lot of gear change, a lot of clutch work to do. But that is a big thing of what we're trying to do, show the standard and how strong the standard car is. But yeah, we're improving every time.
You say you still run the manual gearbox, so is there an option to put a sequential into this then?
there's always the option. There's a you know, you can go and buy something, but for us, we like to prove what the standard car is capable of, and we've run 3 12 hours, a couple of 24s now with this standard box, and apart from an oil change now and again, that's about all we do to it.
Great stuff, Alan. Best of luck with the rest of qualifying. Lovely blokes here, and ladies as well.
Thank you, Nick. Talking to Jensen Button about the standard road car, the Civic Type R, and he set a new benchmark for front-wheel drive cars at Bathurst when I was out there over the Easter weekend, and he was tremendously impressed, had a great time around the mountain as part of the Civic Type R programme with completely standard cars. Didn't even have a roll cage in it, that car, actually. And he had a lot of fun in that extremely capable car. Hello to the Abbey Mead School who are watching and listening. They saw a placard being held up earlier on. Apparently, this is part of their science and technology package to be watching motor racing. I would say that is a sensible use of school time, and all part of the national curriculum back in the UK.
Good final day project before going off on half-term holiday, it being half-term next week. Stuart Hall has just set 5th fastest time in the Monlau Competition Cupra. A 2:15.015 pushes Vincent Radebecker down to 6th. Rolf Redding in the Swiss Seat TTC Racing down to 6th place. So Stewie Hall, good little lap from him there. Just another 0.2 of a second, and he'll get a position on row 2 of the grid. Rick Broiker's still in the pits, having just set a single flying lap time. Sam Neary has stayed out in the 334, but the BMW currently 3rd fastest, behind Marcus Fluch's Lestrup VW.
Just to mention, if you want to drop us a tweet, by the way, get in touch with us. It's RSL_studio on Twitter. And don't forget the hashtag 24H series. We'll get to see those on our screens in front of us. Still 14 minutes to go here. 12 cars we have seen. And Joe Bradley just pointing out we haven't seen anybody swapping front tyres to rear to get some. You get some heat in the front, and then you put them diagonally. You swap them over and put them on the back. But I'm not sure that that's going to make a huge amount of difference. That this is such a low grip track that I'm not sure that makes a huge amount of difference. I don't think it's a question of getting the heat in. I just think it's getting them to react to the surface. And starting pressures here are going to be absolutely key.
And the problem is, all being front-wheel drives, at least TCRs are all front-wheel drives, is that you're in a sense chasing your tail, because all the time
literally
you're pushing on, you're wearing out the front tyres, and you're putting less grip on the rears, and everything's kind of pointing down on the nose. The weight transfer is always going down onto the front of the car.
I think I might be. Actually, I don't even know. I was going to say I think I might be slamming the back end and seeing if you can get something out of that, but then you're just going to loosen off the front, and you'll get a whole load of understeer, power on understeer, which again you don't want on a front-wheel drive car.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, Paul.
I'm sure Johnny Palmer's enjoying this, because there's lots of cars.
Oh, he's got all the disallowed track limits here. It's like a bingo card.
So unfortunately, I think Stuart Hall's had his time deleted, although he's still listed in 5th. The 107's had a time taken away. 2:15.125 still keeps the Monlau Competition Cupra in 5th position. What I didn't understand was that 2 names further down the timing screen suddenly dropped places, and I couldn't work out what had happened there. But Harry Hilder's 175 still 8th. Jan Engelbrecht rejoining the session in the Hyundai i30. So plenty of cars that have been in the pits for the last 5 to 10 minutes, I think will come out for as much track time as possible now, with potentially brand new Hankook tyres beneath them.
The Stuart Hall time that was disallowed was a 2 minutes 15.015. The one that he has been allowed is a 2 minutes 15.125. So
It's still good enough for fifth,
it
in actual
didn't
fact.
actually change the position. No, the reason I was drawing attention to your type of short oval things is this penchant that a lot of TCR cars have of having their national flag painted on the roof of the car. So you've got the number 110 Lestrup racing team, the Swedish flag painted on the roof of it. You got Synchro Motorsport with the Union flag painted on the roof of it.
I like that.
And yeah, I think it's a nice touch, provided you've got TV cameras watching them, can see the roof of the car. If you're a spectator sitting,
well, a lot of them have got it on the wing end plates as well.
Yeah.
Which I also think is a good idea. Wing end plates and wing mirrors are a good place for national flags.
When we get to the next session and see the Aston Martin, I'd really like to see the Aston Vantage with its roof painted gold, though, because it's current champion.
Oh, very good. Gold
And it
top.
has to have a gold roof, absolutely.
it's got the number
and
one.
start at the back of the grid for every race. So there's the fifth place, 107 car currently in the pit lane. Stewie Hall with Chris Kemp and David Tin, we heard from during our radio-only practice session.
And if you missed that, by the way, if you go to radio-show.co.uk and onto the 24H Series BRNO page, that session is already posted up there, so you can listen to that after this one. There's enough time for you to listen to that before we start the race. And Kerry and Tim back in London have been working very, very hard indeed, and they've got that turned around, and it's already posted as audio archive on there. You can download it onto your device, or you can just hit play and listen at your own pace, listen on demand.
Tom Black's the fourth driver in that car, the one that I didn't mention, so that should be a British flag, or Spanish flag, should it not, for Monlaw competition?
Monlaw competition is Spanish, but
yes.
all four drivers are British. So that's why you got the British flag kind of on the B pillar.
Yes.
Which again is a good use of a bit of space. Yeah,
Indeed,
very good.
Just missing the flag of España on the roof of that Cupra, though.
The Marcus Fluch car has just put in an improved time, stays second, but 2 minutes 14.205 means that the gap first to second is now down to 0.563. So that's probably enough for the moment. We've got less than 9 minutes of the session remaining. Rick Breukers stays in the pits with the Red Camel Cupra number 101. And Sam Neary is also in the pits with the BMW. In the end, Sam didn't go faster than Richard. So his best time was a 2 minutes 14.9. Richard did a 2 minutes 14.6. So whether we're going to see the BMW trying to get out before the end of the session to get the SP3 class car onto the front row. I know Richard would like to have it on the front row if he can.
Good lap last time around for Marcus Fluch, getting the gap down to just half a second now, 2:14.2 to Rick Breukers' earlier effort, 2:13.6. Nobody else in the final 8 minutes going quicker just yet. But if you're watching live timing around the world, then looking for green sector times for PBs, personal bests, and even better than that would be purple sector times to be absolute bests. We've had one or two of those from cars not hanging on to provisional pole right now, although the top three are now in the pit lane. So that leaves a relatively empty track now for Kari-Pekka Laaksonen, Stewie Hall in the 107 Monlaw competition, Cupra, Vincent Rademacher still out in the Audi RS3 from AC Motorsport, and Michael Reinhoff for Winkler Tuning still circulating. But otherwise, the other 8 cars are in the pits.
I think Vincent Rademacher and Stewie Hall, the two most likely to improve out of that list that you just went through, Johnny. The best will in the world, Kari-Pekka Laaksonen, not as quick as Antti Buuri, who set the time for the Autorama Golf earlier on at 2:14.814. And out of the pits comes the 101, but not with Rick at the wheel, but with Luke Breukers currently at the wheel. So he's back out onto the circuit for the last 6 minutes of the session. Vincent Rademacher is 6th at the moment in the 188 Audi. not chasing a time, he told us before he went out, just getting the setup right. And rightly so, you know, for a 12-hour race, it's important to not get lost just trying to chase a good grid position if you can get the car nicely positioned, nicely set up for the race.
Hello to MGT. Was enjoying seeing that 676 Honda in the sunshine at the moment in that slightly darker red. Looks fantastic. We used to see the synchro cars, of course, back in the day. They were always black. But in that darker red with the Union flag on the wings, and enjoyed listening to Alan James being interviewed by Nick Damon earlier on. Thank you for the chat from the guys and girls. Weather looks amazing, says MGT. Not sure where you are, MGT, but thanks for tuning in and for sending us a note on RSL_studio. Let's get back with about 5.5 minutes to go to Nick Damon, and he's at Lestrup Racing Team next to the Volkswagen Golf GTI, which is in the pit lane, which means he can have a word with their driver.
With Marcus Flock, yeah, I mean, what's basically happened, I think, is that there's no one's probably going to go faster, so I'll mop up some of the great qualifiers. Looks like you're second overall, Marcus. Happy with that?
Yeah, I'm really happy. I haven't been in race cars since 3 years, so it's good to be back and to do some nice laps. It's always nice to see.
And what were you doing 3 years ago and more? What class of racing?
Yeah, I did in Eastern Europe. I did Golf Cup. It was a one cup, basically where everybody drove the same car. And did that for 3 years, and then I got my daughter that's now 3 years. That's why I didn't drive for 3 years, but now back to have some fun.
How's the car handling? Most of the teams with front-wheel drive cars have said there's a lot of problem on corner exit. Are you having the same problem?
Yeah, we have the issue in the second part of the practice yesterday, but we have a nice, good engineer here, and he helped us go around the problem. I think everybody still got it, but of course we improved the car today and it feels better.
And are you a fan of the BRNO track? Obviously, if you've been doing the Eastern European Golf Championship, you've been here before, but you like the circuit?
Yeah, I love the circuit. Been here on the podium in the Golf Cup, so of course beautiful, nice surroundings and nice couple of corners in these kind of cars. So of course I like it.
Thanks indeed. And you haven't been beaten, but we've had an improvement, a new third place time from Stuart Hall, just to prove me wrong. Thanks, Marcus. Cheers, mate.
Nick Damon with Marcus Flüsch there stays in second place. Will be on the front row then as it stands at the moment. Cupra, Volkswagen, and now, as Nick rightly says, catching sight of the timing screen in the garages there, Stuart Hall in the Monline competition Cupra. 2:14.450, Johnny, last time around, and going quicker again. But still, I've got to say, that car, none of the front drive cars, looks anywhere near hooked up around here. No. They are sliding like a rear drive car on slicks on a wet track. It's an extraordinary thing to watch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to catch up with Stuart later on. Maybe he'll spend a bit of time in the booth with us during the race. He was able to do that at Mugello and just to chat through what's still required, what they're chasing in terms of setup. He's still getting used to front-wheel drive himself, such an experienced racing driver, and of course he'll be trying to pass on that advice and the knowledge he's learning currently out in the session to the lesser experienced drivers he's with this weekend. But it looks a bit of a nightmare out there for those cars that are still chasing setup.
It's a nightmare on turning because the back wants to accelerate past the front and spin you around. It's a nightmare on exit because you've got no front grip coming away from the corner. And I'm just thinking back to that Heath van Bessem spin in the 175 earlier on. When you get sideways in a front-wheel drive car, the standard operational procedure is you don't lift off the throttle, you steer in the direction that you want to go, and you floor the throttle. The problem here, I don't think there's enough grip from the front wheels to pull the car straight, and the sideways, the slip angle momentum that they've got is greater than the forward momentum that the front wheels are giving when you floor the throttle.
In effect, when you're in the slide, you then get understeer because the front wheels aren't gripping.
Yeah, it's too late at that point.
Just looking for Sam Neary, who's been pushed down to fourth place as a result of Stuart Hall's improvement in the Cupra. He's just come out of the pits. That's starting his flying lap. So he's finished his out lap. Sam Neary now on a flying lap. His best thus far, 2 minutes 14.69, or that's Richard's best, 2 minutes 14.69. Sam looking to get 2 minutes 14.3 or 4, a low 2 minutes 14.4. forward to get himself back to third, or possibly a 2 minutes 14.1 will get him onto the front row of the grid. So look out for the BMW.
13 cars have failed to deliver their data sticks to scrutineering after the free practice session. That's a bit of a no-no, and that could lead to some penalties. And that's getting on for, well, it is, you know, nearly half the field, isn't it? Right there, and there's some big numbers in there. I'm not going to run through all the numbers, but there are some very interesting numbers scrolling across the bottom of our timing screen at the moment that are in danger of getting a penalty. The balance of performance, which is reviewed as the weekend goes on here, is dependent on data. Creventic do a cracking job in crunching the numbers. And obviously, if they don't have the numbers to crunch, then no crunching can be done, Johnny.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, and I'm sure that is the message is firmly sent at the start of the weekend that has to be done. But it's amazing that such a high number of cars or team managers have not adhered to that rule.
Part of the official timetable that gets published gives you the timetable for when you have to return memory sticks. And they do like to have it before the race in order to make sure that everything was as it should be. Luke Breukers goes through 2 minutes 17. He's not as quick, is he, as certainly not as Rick, not as quick as Evo either, but getting valuable time. Here comes Sam Neary then, out of the final turn and across the start-finish line. What's he be able to do on his final lap? 2:14.7. So just a tenth off his best, and the checkered flag is now out. So that was Sam's last chance. So checkered flag out at start-finish, and no improvement leaves the SP3 BMW fourth fastest. Quickest of all is Rick Breukers then, with the Red Camel Jordan.
And with the poles as to Rick, well, you made that look very easy.
Yeah, I think it was a good lap. I enjoyed it, and we're really happy to be on pole for the 12-hour.
A lot of the front-wheel drive cars are struggling. How's the handling with the 101?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think everyone in TCR class is struggling. The corners here are really long in general, and it just takes a lot of effort from the front tires. So, yeah, I think we managed to get quite a good setup, but it's still hard for us and I think for everyone else.
So it's looking visually like you've got oversteer in and understeer out, and then who knows in the middle?
Yeah, I guess you try to have an oversteering car in entry and in the middle as well. And then on the exit you have understeer. Because it's a front-wheel car drive, I think you cannot get anything else than understeer there.
And sharing with your little brother, what's that like?
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's learning a lot. It's a lot to learn in one weekend, but he's doing really, really well.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you.
I think last car out on the track, Luke Breukers, at the moment, just heading up the hill towards the final chicane. Hasn't yet taken the checkered flag, and you can tell Big Brother that he's well up on his brother's time here, and he's going to be held up by the BMW. I think that would have been an improvement there had he not been. No, I'm only kidding, just winding him up. The session over then. The 666 Winkler tuning car, that is the BMW E46 123D, goes across the line. Luke Breukers did go through, did a 218, but I don't think he was on anything like a fast run there. But that will be the car that starts on pole position from the Lestrup Racing Team Volkswagen Golf GTI. And then it's the Cupra of Monlau and the BMW of Team ABBA Racing on row 2. Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Racing, Volkswagen Golf from AC Motorsport in 6th position. These are all the TCE side of things. In A3, Synchro Motorsport inside the top 10 is the pole sitter for A3, and he's got Hoffer Racing and Winkler Tuning behind them. Baz Cooten, I don't think he'll be too happy being 2 seconds off the front of the field, but that 175 did not look very good at all, and we barely saw the Team Hyundai Denmark car. They did 9 laps, so they were out there. Team ABBA Racing only did 4 laps to get their time. But again, that Team Hyundai Denmark car a little bit further down than they would like in that i30N TCR. As I said, Hoffer Racing and Winkler Tuning 11th and 12th. But that is the qualifying for TCE with the Winkler Tuning diesel E46 BMW in 12th position, but third in class. Thoughts, JP? I mean, Red Camel Jordan, you'd expect Rick Breukers to pull a lap out the bag as far as everyone else is concerned. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm impressed with Marcus Fluke because he's had 3 years away from motor racing. As he said, now a 3-year-old daughter, so been rather busy at home by the sounds of things. But Fluke has raced the Dubai 24 in the past, but wasn't in the TCR class, so a new division to get used to. And rekindling, I suppose, those good years in the Volkswagen Cup when he went to places like Ossersleben and to Lausitzring, but also here to Brno. So a bit of track knowledge and also knowledge of a Golf in the past too. Doing some good work for Swedish squad Lestrup Racing. Stewie Hall was getting there or thereabouts. If Stuart Hall's only good enough for the second row, then I'm thinking about his teammates getting their heads around a car that is still clearly being tuned up by a squad from Spain who are massively experienced in TCR. I mean, multi-winners in the Barcelona 24, but clearly track conditions very different from that event. So I think the 107 will get better and better. Nice to see the ABBA Racing BMW in the mix as far as overall TCE series running is concerned. 4th place then in the overall standings. It's the only SP3 entry, but we'll start from the outside of the second row. And then the A3s at the back. Honda the best, ahead of a couple of BMWs in very different spec, and Alan James said that they're still very much chasing setup, but they've done enough to get that Honda onto pole position. As we said, single lap qualifying is one thing. A 12-hour race over the next 2 days, something entirely different, John.
Yeah, and a 12-hour race, it could run under slightly different weather conditions from one day to the next, obviously. 3 hours this afternoon.
Expected tomorrow, quite possibly. Yeah,
it's a lovely day again today. We came in yesterday to Brno Airport, which is a relatively small regional airport, through some quite heavy cloud, and Paul telling us that there had been quite persistent rain in the morning here yesterday. So we started from a relatively green track, so the track will be evolving all the time. Not a huge amount of cars here, good field, 31 cars out on the circuit, so the Hankook rubber will be getting laid down, and there is an awful lot of track days and racing here. You only have to go onto any of the internet video sites to see how many people post their own videos of driving around. Some more successful than others in terms of tracing the racing line. A very big variety of cars and bikes use this circuit. So that is the completion of the first part of qualifying. We've reset the clock and have another 45 minutes for the GT. This is your first time watching or listening to the FIA International Endurance Series, the Hankook 24-hour series, then we do have 2 championships running in tandem here, and they all are at the same races this year. You've just seen qualifying for what's called the TCE Championship, and that's the touring car endurance part. We've got a GT endurance series as well. Different classes within both of those divisions, if you will, but they are sharing the track, and each of the individual classes scores the same amount of points, so you may well get an overall championship winner who doesn't come from one of the top classes, and indeed that's what happened last year. The car that wears the number 1, the Pro Sport guys, weren't in the top class.
Although you get fewer points for winning if you've got fewer people in your class.
Very good point.
And you tend to find, and there's no particular reason for this, but the A6 class and the TCR class are the best populated classes in their respective divisions.
Over the year, yes, absolutely.
So you tend to get the overall winner coming from one of the higher classes. The strange thing is that Pro Sport Performance, although they're running a GT4 Aston Martin this year, last year they were running the A6 AM class of what is now CP Racing. So it's a bit of a bizarre situation that Pro Sport Performance carry the number 1, although it's on a completely different car, driver lineup.
But they were the champion team, yes.
There are some of the engineers that ran the Mercedes last year that have transferred across to run the Aston, but not all by any means. So there's only a couple of the engineers that were involved with Pro Sport that are now involved with the Aston Martin. 2
Porsches from Porsche Lorient out on the pit lane, numbers 911 and 912. They are half of the 991 field, all for Cup cars, 911 Gen 2 991 Cup cars. So that's the latest Cup car. Speed Lover and Duo Racing. The other 2, they are 909 and 978. The other 2 cars, Porsche Lorient, Porsche dealer, in fact a couple of dealerships. I think they've got one in Brest as well, if I remember rightly. Johnny will look that up immediately. He's fastest finger first. He's fastest finger first on the Google search. So coming up then, 45 minutes of qualifying for GT4, A6 Pro and AM, and that 991 category. In GT4, a mix of cars with the what you might call more traditional GT4s from AMG GT4, the QSR Rating School, the BM Racing School, the Senkia Motorsport BMW M4 GT4. A couple of those, Hoffa Racing by Bonk's cars, one of those as well. We have the Aston Martin Vantage from Pro Sport Performance that we were talking about, the number 1 car. And then also in GT4, we've got 2 KTM crossbows from RTR Projects. This is the closed category car with the slightly more potent engine and the paddle shift. And then the rest of the A6, which effectively GT3 cars, split into A6 AM and 2 A6 Pros. Cars are the same, it's the drivers that are rated. Joe Bradley has taken over from Nick Damon as we head towards the sun being at its zenith. It's only mad dogs and former policemen that go out in the midday sun. Joe, what you got?
Well, just a little bit of information I've gathered off loitering in the men's toilets, actually, but that's another story in itself. As we saw in qualifying, the sort of bizarre image of the TCR runners, the front-wheel drive cars, having no grip whatsoever and losing the rear end, carrying no speed, what it appeared. Well, I'm not going to say the driver because he's given me quite a bit of info. Brand new tyres, 3 seconds a lap quicker. 10 laps, tyres were gone. That team's going to be searching for a setup that's going to get the tyres to last beyond the 10 laps. You do not want to be struggling with rear-end grip on the knife edge for, 90-minute stints, well over an hour of just knife-edge driving. That's what these cars and drivers are going to be searching for in the break before we get towards the race this afternoon. So, bizarre. I know the Hankook tyre engineer told me, Ben was saying, it's a low-grip track. But I'm sure just how low grip has taken everyone by surprise.
Yeah, it's a strange... Thank you, Joe. It's a strange irony that the lower the grip, the more tyre wear you normally get. You'd think, wouldn't you, if there was lots of abrasive surface, you would have more tyre wear. But the tyre isn't sliding across the surface of the track so much, so therefore it's doing its job and it's sitting flatter and keeping the wheels in line more. As soon as you get low grip surface and the cars are sliding around, you've got lateral load on the surface of the tyre. That peels the rubber off, and that's what causes the issues.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to hear from Rick Roykers as well on the subject, saying that these corners at Brno circuit are very long corners. So
high energy.
You don't have time for the tyres to recover in between time. You have this long period of a corner, and then there's several sequences where you get a right-hander followed immediately by a left, then followed by or 2 left-handers, one after the other. So you get long corners with not a long straight between them.
It's only really the start-finish straight and heading up from 10 to 11 and 12 where the tyres get any rest whatsoever.
So I think
Or 11 and 12 to 13, rather.
My impression is that the GT cars will have an easier time of it. It's easier to balance a GT or a rear-wheel drive car because you're steering with one set of wheels and driving with the other.
Correct.
So you can make the tyre wear more even because of the different loads.
There is another consideration to make here, or to take into. There is another thing to take into consideration here, Johnny, is that the Hankook tyres are very good at giving you good grip and feedback and performance, even when they're not up to temperature and pressure. And bringing them in more gently here, I think is going to be very, very important indeed to get the longevity out of them. I think back to quarter, and that's a low grip track as well, actually. And if you push too hard early on, you could easily burn up your tyres. Where if you took 5 or 6 laps, taking it a bit steadier, then even on a 45 lap stint, I think we were doing, then it's only really in the last 10 laps where you were feeling the rears on a GT4 car beginning to give up. And it's almost that the Hankooks are too good early on. They lull you into a false sense of security.
Right. Well, they're obviously designed as an endurance tyre, so you're effectively qualifying on a tyre that is designed for, as you say at COTA, a 45 lap stint. So they're quite hard compound. Hankook don't produce a qualifying tyre as such, and it is a tyre that is meant to be good for every car in the field as well. So there isn't a TCE tyre and then a GT tyre. It's all the same compound. And yes, okay, take it easy to bring the heat in, but I think, you know, because of the hard nature of the tyre that is produced by Hankook for the 24H series, I think it's going to just take a little bit of time to take that top surface off and then heat it throughout. Once you're into the meat of a stint, things should be a little better because you're not going to be trying for qualifying pace, and you're not going to get that skating that clearly the rears are doing on the TCRs. But I think Paul's point about these being effectively better balanced cars, because a lot of the GTs are mid-engined, like for instance the Ferrari, front-engined, yes, for the Mercedes, but still rear drive.
Well, and also the front-engine cars, if you lift the engine cover, the bonnet on a Mercedes, and look
isn't it?
Yeah, and look behind the radiator, there's a whole lot of nothing at all there, and you go, hang on a second, where have you put the engine?
Yeah.
The engine's pretty much in the passenger compartment. They're almost a mid-front engine car, or a front mid-engine car. It's so far back, and I mean that's the attribute of the road car. You want to get that big lump of iron as far back, or alloy now as they are, pushed further back as you can. Now, teams are being reminded track limits will delete times, so we've got cars going out immediately. Nico Verdonk has taken out the Pro Sport Performance Aston Martin Vantage with a little more black and red on that car from when I last saw it in Italy. MDC Sports, it's Manuel Zumstein. Leonard Weiss for Wochenspiegel Team Monschau Ferrari goes through, and that's the first fast lap with a 2:08. QSR Racing Skills Mercedes goes through in the hands of Jimmy De Bruyke. Nico Verdonk for Pro Sport now goes through in the Aston. And who else is out there? Matteo Malicelli, unsurprisingly, has taken out the Ferrari of Bohemia Energy Racing with Praha. Ingo Vogler for Car Collection Motorsports 34. Charles Esplanade for CP Racing. Marcus Winkelhock for the second of the Car Collection cars. 88. Gabriela Zhilkova for RTR's 220. Duo Racing has Andre Mukovos at the wheel.
I'll take a guess that it's going to be Thomas Enger at the wheel of the other
Do you think?
KTM, the Crossbow 224. 226 is the car that Gabriela Gilkova is driving. that 224 we're not yet being advised of, but it would make a lot of sense for the Mad Czech, Thomas Enger, to... are we allowed to call him the Mad Czech?
I don't think he'll mind.
No, he's a good enough lad that he won't mind. You're absolutely right.
The Pro Sport car, very different. It was pretty much plain white when I saw it at Mugello.
I think it was roughly those colours at Spa, wasn't
was it?
Johnny?
The white with the sort of orangey red and black.
And grey on it,
yeah.
A lot more trim, as Nick was describing earlier on. Not quite sure that I can see the similarity to tennis nets, but I kind of see what he was getting at. I think, you know, two drivers to look out for here is going to be Matteo Malicelli and Marcus Winkelhock. Malicelli in the Ferrari, Marcus Winkelhock in the Audi. They're going to be the really quick ones. Possibly Matthias Lizowski, we saw going very quickly in the Olymp Audi. That was very quick in the free practice session. And with local knowledge here, so see what he's going to be capable of. Fastest flying lap thus far, first guy out of the circuit was the Wochenspiegel Team Monschau Ferrari. Leonard Weiss, has done a 2 minutes 4.775, but we're going to be down in the very close to 2 minutes, I think, by the end of this session, John.
And welcome back to Olymp. If you weren't with us for our radio coverage of the early sessions, good to have Olymp back in this championship again. Not sure how much more they're going to do with that Audi, but it is a 2019 Evo version, as is the number 34 Vinko Vogler and Marcus Winkelhock. So all of the three Audis here, Johnny, are all the latest versions with the update kits on them.
Yeah, and that's a sign of how quickly things move on, I suppose. But the update is presumably rather easy to do if you've got a few days and plenty of cash.
Kit,
and
yeah.
it's just you just attach the new bits to it. But it's already a race winner, having taken victory at the Dubai 24 Hours. So
yes, when
clearly,
it was very new. Yes,
indeed, yeah, brand new. I mean, it had run at certain points in 18 when it was unhomologated, so in the SPX classes of various championships. So it had runs at the VLN as well, but effectively not in the game for championship points as such, because it wasn't a thoroughbred GT3 car, but it is now race winning, and good to have three of them here this weekend. In fact, Car Collection turned up with three. I think they were all the Evo 2019 cars. That one of them tested yesterday, but will not be in the race. But I did know that Car Collection had three Audis at their disposal.
There was a suggestion that maybe the third one might be persuaded into the race, and I was party to a conversation that was going on with Evo about whether Rick might be freed up, because of course Evo and Luke could share the driving of the 101 Red Camel car, but Evo wasn't prepared to give that one up. I think there was an extra driver that Car Collection had at their disposal, but it is only a two-car Car Collection this weekend.
Entry.
The changes, by the way, are to the front and rear splitter and dive planes on the Audi. The rear wing. The idea is to give a more simple airflow to the rear end. It helps the heat from the brakes to be dissipated, and also gives consistent, predictable downforce for gentleman drivers, a little less edgy. Power is the same, the 5.2 litre V10. The Huracan upgraded their engine, didn't they? They did an electronic upgrade, so around about 580 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. The big area of the Evo kit is in the gearbox. Redesigned teeth, bearings that are reinforced, stronger clutch. The rebuild intervals are extended by 50%, and it was only 28,000 euros. I knew it wasn't a huge amount of money. And if you've got the current car, you can bolt all of those parts on.
Yeah.
So Chris Renke and the rest of the guys from Audi Sport Customer Racing being, I think, very pragmatic about that, and just trying to understand where people are racing these cars, and we're seeing more and more of them in longer and longer races with more non-pro drivers in them, and all of the things that were strengthened and all of the changes that have been made to make life easier and more durable and more predictable for the guys who don't drive every weekend, which I think is very, very sensible.
If you're called Customer Support Racing, it does make sense to support your customers.
Very good.
Marcus Finkelhock, second quickest, 2 minutes 3.016, brings the orange Audi into the pits, number 88. Matteo Malicelli, 2 minutes 2.323, is 0.6 of a second quicker. 2 minutes 2.323.69 of a second quicker than Marcus Winkelhock. Both of them coming straight into the pits, having done one lap. Robert Renauer is third with the Herbert Porsche. 2 minutes 3.756 is a further 7/10 slower than the Audi. So it's Ferrari, Audi, Porsche first three, and then fourth fastest is the CP Racing, Charles Espenlaub, number 85, red, white and blue car, 2 minutes 3.865 for him, and then fourth fastest Leo Weiss with the Wochenspiegel Ferrari.
Not yet seen. Olymp Racing, number 8, Audi. The Hoffa Racing by Point Motorsport GT4, number 50. The Herbert 93 car, although the 91, as Paul has said, is out. Although that is dark grey, remember now. Don't look for the boring white Porsche anymore. RTR's second crossbar, we believe that'll be Thomas Enger taking that car out. He's been on his Instagram page getting very excited about that. That hasn't been out yet. And the third of the GT4s, so 3 out of the 4 GT4s haven't been out yet. That is the 409 of Senke Motorsport. And Joe Brady can tell us about one of those cars that hasn't yet appeared.
Yeah, the number 8 Audi of Olymp has just gone out. Literally, it's been stood there very coolly, up on its jacks, tyres off. They've just put a set of Hankooks on it. Car now off its jacks, just left, so it's gone out to do the business. Meanwhile, just behind it, virtually 2 garages down, is the number 11 Scuderia Praha Ferrari, which is in for more tweaks under those rear wheel arches.
Yeah.
So more damper settings. They're chasing, as much as the front-wheel drive cars were losing rear-end grip, it's going to be traction on the GT cars with predominantly rear-wheel drive. So as much as there's no grip in the rear end for front-wheel drive, there's no grip to get the power down, to get those rear-wheel drive cars working. And that's what I can see. Right. It's going under the underneath rear wheel arches.
Can you see what's going on behind there, Joe? Because the 88 Marcus Finkelhock Audi is just behind there, also having work done on it.
Well, send him down to do that. The Olymp Racing car out on its opening lap. It's Maciej Lizowski who is behind that. And Michael Fisher has just taken out the BMW M4 GT4 from Hoffa Racing by Bonk Motorsport. That was the number 50 car. So now just 3 cars that we haven't seen on the track. Joe is looking at the number 88 car collection Audi and says...
Yes. Again...
Oh, I don't like that tone of voice, Joe. That normally isn't good.
No. Well, we've got an inspection going on with a... no. I think we've had a roll bar change. I may be wrong. It's where you can get access to the rear, underneath the rear wheel arch from the rear end of the car,
right?
Which has got open space through into just inside the rear wheel, if that makes sense. Car now off its jacks, and Marcus Winkelhock takes that number 88 car collection Audi out. They've had, again, lots of tweaks going on pretty much everyone who comes in. Drivers chasing that grip everywhere they can.
I've not seen this much work going on, even just fine-tuning Johnny Palmer in qualifying for a long time. And also, whilst we're talking about colours, car collection, normally blue and white, that 88 car, bright orange.
Has been before the 88 car. The 34 car is the blue and white one.
Yeah. Well, 88 was the winner at Dubai. I'm pretty sure it ran orange all race there. The Dayglow yellow and black colours of Olymp Racing for the number 8 Audi as well. We talked about GT cars being slightly better balanced. Clearly that doesn't stop the teams though doing fairly major changes on the fly here. So send your driver out, quick response. Was that any good? Well, not really. We've gone in the wrong direction. Okay, we'll go back to the original setting, or indeed head in the completely opposite direction. But you only got 45 minutes, no real time to be messing around when there is a pole position up for grabs, and this is the last track time for everybody before we race at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
And I think part of the problem might be these vast difference in conditions since yesterday when they had the open tests or the private test sessions. So I think a lot of them chasing what they couldn't find during the private test session. Malicelli goes through onto his flying lap now. Marcus Winkelhock is not that far behind him in the Audi, so we'll get times through from the pair of them. The Aston Martin Nico Verdonk in the GT4 has gone through. He's also starting a flying lap now. And still no sign of either the Senkia Motorsport BMW or the Crossbow number 224.
Senkia Motorsports BMW was out in the pit lane part-way through the TCE qualifying session, so it looked like they had almost got everything done and then were very prepared ahead of their own session, unless there's been a late drama.
Back out on the track now, so hopefully we'll see him coming round.
Senkia Motorsport are BRNO based, by the way, so this is literally down the road from their headquarters. Have got a GT3 M6 in their possession, along with the car they're racing this weekend, which is an M4 GT4. But good to have another team associated with the 24H series. And an absolute best through the first sector for Marcus Winkelhock. So that car collection number 88, it's had its tweaks to the rear, and we're heading in the right direction, although Malicelli now going purple through the middle sector.
Yeah, Malicelli's ahead of Winkelhock on the track, so we'll get Malicelli's time through. Then we'll see what Winkelhock's capable of doing. Malicelli over halfway through the lap now, on his way back up the hill from that right-hander at the bottom of the hill, and then back up the hill through the two left-rights that bring him back into our sight at the start-finish. Here he comes out of the final turn, nicely within the track limits, and he crosses the line now with a time of 2 minutes 1.898. That's the quickest yet. Is Marcus going to be able to beat that, Johnny?
Well, he's a tenth up on Matteo's time through the first sector, but loses 3/10 through the second sector. So the suggestion from that is that it's not going to be quite as quick. We'll have to wait three-quarters, in fact, less than that. Is this Marcus coming through? No, not quite the final corner. This is the run up out of turn 11 and climbing at something like 8% gradient now to the end of the lap for Marcus Winkelhock, who I don't think has ever taken part in a 24H series race that wasn't the Dubai 24. So good to have him as part of this regular championship, and he does go faster than Malicelli by 0.4 of a second. Well, that was all done, it seems, in the final sector. Looking at Malicelli's split times, they've disappeared now because he's gone through the first sector again, but a 43.555, very impressive indeed for the orange Audi R8. As I say, he gained a 10th on the Italian through sector 1, lost 3/10 in the middle sector, but then got it all back, and then a further 4/10 was gained effectively in that final run to the line. So the Audi looks strong in the latter part of the lap. I think we might be hearing the age-old argument now from Matteo Malicelli that something's not quite right with balance of performance.
Why do you think that?
Well, I don't know. I've heard it several times before. And then we get to the race and the Ferrari's more than competitive. So I don't think Scuderia Praha have anything to worry about. Didn't catch any traffic. I don't think either of them caught traffic in that final sector.
Clear laps pretty much. I think, I mean, the other aspect come the race is the driver lineup, because the 12 hours of Brno is not just between Matteo Malicelli and Marcus Winkelhock, but it's between the combination of Pisaric, Kral, Malicelli and Winkelhock, Taki Constantinou, Göran Hering and Tim Müller. Now, all three of those, Constantino, Müller and Hering, are all AM drivers. And while some AMs are quicker than others, certainly Jiri Pisaric, for example, no slouch as an AM, whether Constantino is going to be able to keep up with the sort of times that Marcus Winkelhock remains to be seen. Still 26 minutes of the 27 minutes, very nearly, of the session remaining. So plenty of time to come in, put some more tyres on, and improve the times behind the Marcus Winkelhock and Matteo Malicelli cars. Audi leading Ferrari at the moment. It's still Robert Renault, Herbert Porsche, third fastest, 2 minutes 3.091. He's improved. Charles Espenlaub fourth with CP Racing's Mercedes, 2 minutes 3.8. Hendrick still with the Wochenspiegel team Monschau Ferrari. He's improved down to a 2 minutes 3.983. And Maciej Liszewski, having done a 2 minutes 4.392, 2 minutes 4.192, sorry, 142, get there in the end, 2 minutes 4.142 for the Olymp
all
Audi.
All those numbers, they all look the same to
They
me.
do, don't they? The number 8 car, that's sixth fastest. Porsche Lorient locking out the 991 class with a 1-2 in the 991 class. Mathieu Pontier quicker than Frédéric Ancel in 9th and 10th places overall. And GT4, here's Thomas Enger. He's got on board as we thought he might eventually. So Thomas Enger, quickest of all in GT4, 2 minutes 10.600 for Enger, and that puts him on top of the GT4 heap ahead of Thomas Miniberger, who did a 2 minutes 10.7.
Looking back to 2016, when I reckon Andrea Caldarelli took pole position for the Lamborghini squad, which was GRT Grasser, Rolf Eichen, Adrian Amstutz and Caldarelli. They were down in 2 minutes, so we are a little way off that, and that might be partly down to track conditions, but also to the GT3 development. We always think about cars getting faster and faster. I suppose they can't always year on year, and that was a very, very good lap from Andrea Caldarelli in October 2016 when conditions were cooler also, so the engine may well have preferred that, and also the tyres too.
Got a bit.
So Ferrari currently second fastest. They're in the pit lane, Joe Bradley, and doing some adjustment or more than that.
Yeah, I think more than that. Car up on the dollies and being swivelled round now backwards into the garage, so more setup work going on there, trying to get on terms with the number 88 car collection Audi, who has been in. Marcus Winkelhock is now out of the car. They've had a change of driver, but I'm afraid I didn't see who was getting into the car. So the provisional pole sitter out with a different driver, but also significantly a set of used Hankook tyres. So I'm not sure that the 88 Audi is going to be chasing any further times. It may be just getting some seat time for whoever it was that got in there. Your timing screens will update, no doubt. Just going to find out what's going on with the number 11 Scuderia Praha car. We've got a brake pad change going on the front, so that's just bedding pads in. They're certainly not worn out, so that's just bedding. They're bedding brakes and discs on this car, so I would suggest they're not really chasing the pole position. They're quite happy, and now they're looking at preparing for this afternoon's race start. So maybe that's the qualifying battle over, gentlemen.
Could be. So for the moment, advantage Audi. Just going back to what Johnny was saying a minute ago about it was a Grasser Racing Lamborghini that Caldarelli was driving in 2016. 2 minutes 0.035, the qualifying lap. Although interestingly, 2015's pole was Malicelli, 2 minutes 0.9. So we've not gone any quicker since 2015, but that may well be track conditions as well, because it is a lot warmer today than, because both of the previous Brno 12-hour or Brno races were called the Brno Epilogue as the final race of the season, so it was a lot cooler, and traditionally cooler air gives you faster lap times.
Yes, fair point. 201.097, Matteo Malicelli's fastest time in free practice earlier on. So we are still slower than that, in fact. Don't know yet, though, what sort of fuel loads, or probably will never know what sort of fuel loads these cars are carrying. And our team's choosing actually to use this session for a bit more race pace chasing, if you like, considering racing takes place today. Unlike in other championships where you qualify on one day and then the race is the following day, the turnaround is relatively swift here. This session is due to finish at 1:15 the hour, 1:15 local time, and then we're racing from 4 o'clock with cars needing to be out on the dummy grid from about 3:30, so there really isn't much time at all to change the cars from single lap speed to being able to do 3 hours of racing today. One of the KTMs, the 224, which was the latest, or the last car to join from the pit lane, it is being driven by Thomas Enger, ran very much off the racing line there to allow the Ferrari from Monschau through, and that kicked up a load of dust. So John Hindhaugh mentioned earlier on the amount of pickup which is on the main straight offline. It's also very dusty, I noticed there, around about turns 5, 6 and 7. So another indication that the track's lacking grip. If you do have to venture offline, either to let faster cars through or indeed to do lapper yourself.
Wochenspiegel Team Monschau car number 22 up to third place. Hendrik still goes quicker than Robert Brennauer, 2 minutes 2.598. Robert Brennauer improved as well, 2 minutes 2.922 for the Porsche, but a good lap there from Hendrik still puts the Wochenspiegel Ferrari up to third place, and just 0.7 of a second behind Malucelli. And that would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it, if Wochenspiegel Team Monschau could actually go quicker than the Scuderia Praha team, and Matteo would then not be able to blame Palliser's performance. But I think, to be fair, whether the Ferrari has its advantage is getting off the line. It may not have the outright speed for pole position, but getting off the line, the Ferrari very rapid indeed, and can take off very effectively at the start of the race.
Wim Mulders with improvement for Speed Lover. OK, they're still only 4th in class and 15th overall, but the 978 Porsche going faster than it's managed so far in the session at 2:11.2. There was also a good lap that time for Željko Dermic in the other Herbert Motorsport Porsche, up to 9th fastest now for car 93 at 2:08.2. So there are improvements here and there, but Hendrik still for Monschau, Team Wochenspiegel, Team Monschau, up to third position. 2 Ferraris and an Audi then in the top 3, but it is Audi R8 that is fastest from Car Collection.
And that is one of the AM cars, of course. Tim Müller at the wheel of that 88 now, having a huge slide, having taken that car over from Marcus Winkelhock. It's just all about getting forward grip at the moment on this circuit. In the Porsche class, it's Porsche Lorient Racing 912 from 911, separated by 6/7 of a second. Then it's Thomas Enger who leads GT4 from Thomas Miniberger. The 2 RTR projects, KTM Crossbows, and that's your class leaders, isn't it? Let's go back down to Joe Bradley. Where are you, Joseph?
I'm still with the Scuderia Praha team, and I'm going to ask a man who might be able to answer my perceptions. Joseph, it looked to me as though you guys are not interested in qualifying. It's all about the race now.
Well, it may look like this, but of course that we are interested in the qualifying because it's our home race, so we are pushing to the limit. That's why Matteo, now when I talked with him, he made a mistake in the last corner, so he lost some time. In the end, it's maximum what we could do, because yesterday we really missed lots of running because of the big crash what we had. So in the end, you can see there another car which we broke yesterday, or basically we took the parts from the T car to put it on the race car, which we have now. So we ran just a few laps yesterday, so we lost lots of time on the track where we could improve the car. So we're still looking for the setup, which is important for the race.
Everybody seems to be complaining of no grip. You're regular here. This is your home track. Is BRNO renowned for having no grip?
Not really. I'm quite surprised how bad it is now. But when I talked with the boss of the track, she told me that the grip level a little bit changed, and also the usage of the tire, how you use the tire. So it's quite surprising, because when I remember the 24-hour race when we did it 3 years ago, now the time's really fast, but 3 years ago, the car was really mega. We were really fast, and the grip was there. Suddenly, this time, there's no grip all around the track, and we are sliding a lot, and it's really dusty. When we are overtaking, you can see the really dust flying everywhere. It looks like there is lots of smoke, but it's really the dust, so it's a big surprise.
And damper changes also. I saw a little change on dampers there, so it's about traction for the Ferrari.
Definitely, I think for everyone now at the moment, we are really trying to find a way how to work around a slippery track. So we're getting close to wet setup, let's say. So it's really difficult, but important for the race, and I hope that now at the moment we are in a quite nice position, first row at the moment, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that it stays like it is.
Thanks, Joseph. And once again, the 24-inch series, it's such a challenge for the fact that we compact everything together. Practice, qualifying, no time to do anything. It's straight into the race this afternoon. So very little time. You've got to be so on your game in this series. It's fantastic.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Bradley. Well, talking about that grip area, or lack thereof, and Tim Muller finding that out a few moments ago in the 88 Car Collection Motorsport Audi R8 Evo. That is the car that's quickest, but just trying to get the car to grip through the corner, any part of the corner.
He was just trying to warm the tyres up.
I tell you what, that looks a handful. That looks like, I tell you, honestly, that looks like you're driving on a cold, damp track on slick tyres. That's how it looks like at the moment, and that's the same sort of inputs you can see through the steering wheel that you could hear from the engines on the front-wheel drive cars.
Exactly,
it's really interesting.
Exactly what Josef was just saying about they're ending up moving towards a wet setup on the car,
slackening everything off,
just to get the grip. Yeah. So that's Tim Muller now at the wheel of the 88. Car Collection Audi. It is still on pole position by 0.4 of a second. Malucelli is back out again at the wheel of the Scuderia Praha Ferrari, and has another 15 minutes of the session, and Josef Kral certainly wasn't saying that Scuderia Praha had capitulated by any means. So coming up now to start, this is to finish his start-up lap, and he'll be starting a flying lap now as he crosses the start-finish line and starts the clock. Now, Nico Verdonk improved in the Aston Martin. He's still third in GT4. And Max Edelhoff now goes third fastest in the Car Collection Audi, number 34. So it's a Car Collection 1-3. Max Edelhoff, young, fiery driver, 2 minutes 2.333. And he is son of, mine's gone blank, Johnny.
Gustav
Edelhoff, thank you, yes. And Gustav not in the driving lineup. The driving lineup for this weekend, Johannes Kirchhoff and Ingo Vogler. And Max is certainly the quickest of the three drivers, but there's certainly not much wrong with the Audi this weekend. So Jochen Krumbach now at the wheel of the 22 Wochenspiegel Team Monschau car. Hendrik Still it was who set the time in that car. I just wonder if there's a bit of needle going on there in the Rinaldi Racing Run team to see whether or not Jochen Krumbach might be able to go a little bit quicker than the time set by Hendrik Still. My money might actually be on Krumbach.
The 34 car with Max Edelhoff on board, also struggling for grip.
Richard Gonda's doing a little better now for the Schenker Motorsport squad. The BMW M4 up to third place in GT4. Richard, Slovakian, 25 years old, and has raced in things like the Renault Sport Trophy in the past, and also more recently International GT Open for Schenker Motorsport. So I just wonder whether that was actually at the wheel of their BMW M6. Yes, it was at places like Spa and Barcelona. So he could be the secret weapon at the local team from BRNO. And how far off a potential pole is he? Still a couple of seconds to find in that BMW M4, because it's the Crossbows that are the best in that category.
Yeah, there's two classes of GT4. There's Crossbows and there's other GT4s. I had a quick word with Ola Dorleman, the chief technical guy at Creventic this morning, and asked him about the GT4 spec of KTM Crossbow, and he assured me that they do now have the full homologation papers from the GT4. And it's all to do with software, and then they can put on weight. But if they are too quick, I would doubt whether they'll put any more weight on them at this point in the race.
Some people don't let them into GT4.
Because, I mean, but apparently, as I say, they have been fully homologated, but somebody else who mustn't be named muttered, well, it's Creventic, isn't it? But I don't think that was entirely fair.
There's not a lot wrong with the balance performance between the BMW M4 and the Aston Martin Vantage, though.
Go along with that, absolutely.
8 thousandths of a second between the two so far. Richard Gonda's time and Nico Verdonk from earlier on, although the Aston from Pro Sport Performance is currently in the pits with 11 minutes to go.
Malicelli's first flying lap was a 2 minutes 4.
Oh, look out for Matthias Lisowski. Absolute best through the middle sector on this lap, and he's pretty good through the first as well.
Another Audi then. This is the Olymp Racing Audi. Every time I look at that car, when I see it on the screen, I think that's a Lamborghini, because it's so much like the colour scheme that Barwell run in British GT.
Good point.
Easy mistake to make.
Good point. So Malicelli, I think, will
Here he comes. So let's just see what Lisowski's going to do. Does it go to pole position? Oh, front row just misses out by 0.160 of a second. So very narrow margins indeed. Less than a couple of tenths, but it is a front row start provisionally. That's two Audis now on the front row.
And Malicelli in the pit lane with the Ferrari. 10 minutes of the session to go. Still time for Malicelli to get out there and recover. Max Edelhoff also brings his Audi into the pits. And, of course, he's another Audi to have been displaced by the Olymp car. But Lisowski then, really good lap time from him. And it's an Audi front row.
New set of Hankooks. No, just checking the pressures on the Hankooks of the 88 provisional pole sitting Car Collection Motorsport Audi. They seem happy. I think they're going to send that. They've got it on its dollies at the moment in case... Oh, no, it was just on the jacks. Why, that comes off the ground a long way. And it's being sent. They're going to have one more go on this.
With that, that's still Tim Muller at the wheel of the 88, John. So I don't think we're going to see the 88 going for a fast lap. It's
bleeding air out of those tyres there. So they were just re-pressuring the tyres. So that's a bit of extra practice then. Nothing going on at the Malicelli car. Joe Bradley is closer to that than I am. Joe, what can you see at Scuderia Praha?
Nothing really, just a bit of conversation going on across the radio. Tyre man taking the surface tread temps just to see how the tyre's performing, but nothing really. I know Joseph Kroll said that they were still interested in qualifying. That's not what the team manager told me, and it's not what I could see with my own eyes. It seemed to me that they were happy with that. They started betting in brakes and discs, and I'm not sure they're that bothered about where they start the race. Obviously, it's bragging rights. They're on their home turf. They've got a lot of guests here and family and friends, as well as clients probably. But time's running out, isn't it? How long have we got? We've got about 8 minutes now. So whether or not they're going to send him out with a brand new set of tyres, let's wait and see. I'm stood down here, so as soon as I get an idea of what the tactic is, that whether or not they are going to have a run for pole position, time's ticking by, but they've still got plenty of time to do it, as Paul's just said.
And I was wrong about the Car Collection 88 car, the orange Audi. It did have a driver change, but it's not Marcus Winkelhock that's taken the car back out again. It's Jürgen Hering. So Tim Muller has got out. Jürgen Hering has got into the pole sitting Car Collection Audi. And I can't see who else is going to be able to challenge, with the exception, I suppose, of Lisowski.
Yeah, well, he went quicker through the first sector on the next lap, but then couldn't continue that into sector 2 and 3. Wasn't very far away. with a 2:01.999. So that's only 0.3 of a second slower than his best lap so far. So that puts Lisowski in second position, 88 and 8 on the front row rather neatly. And then the next 4 cars on the timing screen are all in the pit lane and probably showing signs of not much further action.
There'll be people in the Far East who are saying, it's the lucky numbers, because 8 is the big lucky number in the Far East. So 88 and 8, as you say, sharing out the front row between them. 11, the Scuderia Praha Ferrari on the inside of row 2. And then the 34 Max Edelhoff car collection Audi on the outside. Joe?
Scrubbed rubber going on the number 11 Ferrari. So, not sure whether that's a complete let's have a go at pole position. I would have thought new tyres might have been a better option, but scrubbed rubber on the 11.
I would
Nothing
believe,
else.
I would
Nothing
believe
else
your earlier instinct, Joe, of saying that they're not interested in going any quicker. They've done what they had to do, and now they just want to make sure their car is set up nicely for the race. Said earlier on, it's not just the car being set up for a single lap, but it's having the driver squad, and the Scuderia Praha squad, so experienced in Creventic races. They all know BRNO very well indeed. Never beaten in a race in a Creventic race at BRNO, even going back to 2015 and 2016, previous 12 and 24-hour epilogues that we've had. So obviously the Audi's very quick.
Nico Verdonk's come back out in the Aston Martin, so they're not happy to be beaten by 0.08 of a second by the BMW M4 from Schenker Motorsport, potentially. Let's see.
Time's still there,
Yeah,
so we'll see what Nico Verdonk's capable of in the Aston. 4th in GT4 at the moment.
And as we say, the KTM's in that class a little out of touch, but they'd like to be the best of the rest. Currently 4th in the GT4 category, so behind BMW number 409, and therefore quicker than the BMW M4 from Hoffer Racing by Bonk Motorsport. That's the 50 car, last driven by Michael Fischer, and Gavin Pickering last into the QSR Racing School Mercedes AMG. That car looks like it's parked up as well. Into the final 5 minutes of GT Series qualifying.
The number 8 Audi's parked up, by the way, guys. Their job's done for qualifying.
Okay, for Olymp Racing, yes.
Yeah, the Olymp Audi.
Matthias Lisowski doing a very good time, a 2:01.659. As I say, he attempted to go even quicker on the next lap, couldn't quite manage it, and then visibly backed off. And I wasn't surprised to see that Olymp Racing car of Poland come into the pit lane.
Yeah, near neighbour to this truck.
Max Edelhoff still giving it a go, though, in the number 34 car collection car. He's just come out of the pit, starting a flying lap now, as is Malicelli. So we'll see what the story is at Scuderia Praha.
Verdonk's got it. He got ahead of the BMW, a 2:12.383. So that didn't take too long at all, but nearly 0.2 of a second quicker than Richard Gonda's time. So they thought they'd done enough. Gonda proved otherwise, but Nico Verdonk's come out and relatively easily put the Aston Martin back to 3rd place.
In fairness, Nico's different gravy, isn't he?
Yeah.
You'd expect him to be, with zero disrespect to anybody else who's driving those cars, you'd expect him to be a bit quicker in himself, never mind what's in the car. But that's pretty good to get down to that as quick as he did. Meantime, Matteo Malicelli, with 3 minutes to go, is out. He's not going quicker on this lap. Is he warming up to one more attempt at, well, a front row? He needs to find a couple of tenths of a second, and he needs to find very nearly 5/10 of a second, 4/10 of a second, let's call it, to get on pole position. But at the moment, he's starting from P3 alongside the car collection Motorsport Audi, the number 34 car. That's the blue and white machine. As through goes Jürgen Herrig in the sister number 88 car. to start another lap.
The other danger for Malicelli is Max Edelhoff,
Yes.
John, because Edelhoff is only half a second slower, and Edelhoff is out on the circuit just ahead of Malicelli. So far from being row 2, it might be the other side of row 2.
And Jochen Krumbach has found time in the Wochenspiegel Monschau Ferrari as well. His fastest middle sector, or that car's fastest middle sector.
The other interesting thing, as far as just going back to the point about Nico Verdonk's concerned, certainly can offer an awful lot of speed, but according to a tweet that he put out yesterday, never been here to Brno. It's been a while since I discovered a new circuit, he says, but must admit Brno is a smooth flowing track, but not easy for overtaking, which I like.
None of the drivers in that Aston has been to Brno before, so they're all 3 Brno rookies. So learning their way around. They were driving a Ford Focus or a Mondeo round in the rent-a-car when I was trying
when you were out on track
going
as well.
around in my Citigo, and let me say that I didn't stand a chance. And even when I thought, I'll just follow him for a couple of corners, not even a couple of corners could I stay up with them. But so an improvement from Krumbach, as John was just suggesting, might have happened, but Krumbach remains 5th fastest. Robert Renauer in the Porsche is 6th. So 2 Audis on the front row. Ferrari and Audi on the second row. Ferrari and Porsche on the third row. Fastest of the Mercedes, Charles Espenlaub CP Racing version, in 7th. And Malicelli went through and did a 2 minutes 3.169 on his last lap. The checkered flag is just over half a minute away. I think, you know, Joe Bradley listens to what Josef Kral was saying and then uses his instinct to find out what actually was going on. And I tend to believe Joe's instincts, because I think Malicelli has just been not chasing pole position, but just setting the car up, bedding brakes in or whatever it was, and getting that job done more urgently than trying to get a pole position time.
5 seconds to go. Malicelli with a bit of clear track ahead of him. Checkered flag is now out. Krumbach didn't improve his position with that improvement in time, but my God, didn't he get close to Max Edelhoff?
The theoretical time for that 22 Ferrari is interesting, though, because if they could get that, it will put them up to 4th place.
Good point.
And this lap's not too shabby, actually, from Krumbach, but he's decided to pit. Neither of the 2 opening times were green, so he wasn't on course to go quicker than the 2:02.3 he'd already set.
Edelhoff's on another one, but he's not quick. He's slow in the first sector.
Yes.
So he's backed out of that, I think. Meantime, in GT4, we can congratulate Nico Verdonk and Pro Sport Performance. Aston Martin Vantage V8 twin turbo will be on top of the pile. Oh, no, it won't.
Well, because the KTMs are in the GT4 category.
Yes,
so
sorry, I looked at the driver ID and the car number rather than the positioning class there. So it will be Thomas Enger who'll be on pole for GT4 with the second of the RTR crossbows alongside him. Aston Martin Vantage, if you like, in 3rd out of 6, the best of the more traditional cars.
Yeah, I think we might need to invent GT4 bis for the to separate the crossbows from the rest, as it were.
991 Porsche Laurent 1st and 2nd, ahead of Duo and Speed Lover. Finn Mulder's going out right at the end there, but he won't get a flying lap in. Herrig goes through, doesn't improve. So it's just Max Edelhoff now to come round, but I don't think he's got a chance of improving, not with the splits that we've been seeing. He's a second, half a second, and then another second off on that. So it's going to be Marcus Winkelhock who has set the fastest time at 2:01.499, and the theoretical time for that car at 2:01.499. So that is as quick as that car was going today, and the man who set that time is with our Joe Bradley down in the pits. Here's Marcus Winkelhock.
We've heard from pretty much everyone, struggling for grip, struggling to find the time. This man has found the time and the grip. Marcus Winkelhock, congratulations to the number 88 Audi on pole position.
Thank you. But I have to say I didn't find the grip. I also was struggling a lot. It's really less grip. It's not easy to put a lap time together. I also didn't put all my sectors together. It was not easy, I have to say. But I'm happy for our car, for our team, to be on pole position. It's always nice, but in the end, you know, it's a long race. It's a 12-hour race. So I think if you're P1, P2, or P5 in the grid, it's not relevant for the race result. But it's always nice to be on pole. Absolutely, I'm happy.
Just how little grip do you have, Marcus? What would you compare it to? Is it like driving in the wet, or perhaps not?
No, it's not like in wet, but it's a little bit like, it feels like there's like sand or a little bit dust on track, and you're just like sliding around. You never feel like proper grip. It's just like always sliding with the car, and I think it makes it not easy for the race as well. Especially the rear end is quite sliding a lot. I think if you have a 1 hour stint, you really have to take care of the tires.
That's what I was going to say next. Okay, over one lap, but keeping the focus and the concentration. All right, you're a pro driver, but maybe for our amateur drivers, 50 minutes, 55 minutes, it's going to be a problem.
Definitely, it will be very difficult, but at the end of the day, it's the same problem for everyone. So, but I will tell my teammates to be really gentle in the beginning of the stint, just to save the tire, because at the end of the stint, it will be for sure quite hard.
Hey, Marcus, if it was easy, I'd be doing it. Congratulations once again. Marcus Winkelhock, our pole position for the 12 hours at BRNO.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Marcus Winkelhock, along with his teammates, start on pole position for today's first part of the race. 3 hours to be done today, remember, 4 till 7 o'clock local time. Car collection are joined by another Audi squad, Olymp Racing of Poland, with Mateusz Lesowski doing the time. So Audi from Audi separated by 0.160 of a second. And the second of the A6 Pro car starts on the second row. Number 11, Matteo Malicelli, joined by Josef Kral and Yuri Pisaric for Bohemia Energy Racing with Scuderia Praha. Another Audi featuring in those top 2 rows, the 34 car collection entry to start from 4th, ahead of a Ferrari and Porsche combination, Wochenspiegel Team Monschau and Herbert Motorsport 22 and 91. Then the CP Racing Mercedes, number 85, from 7th place, alongside the MDC Sports Mercedes of the 3 Swiss Zumstein family members. So that will be an 8th place start, and it was Manuel Zumstein last to be at the wheel of that car. 9th and 10th, the other Herbert Motorsport car is Jelko Dermich, and in 10th position, the first of the 991 class cars, Porsche Lorient Racing, taking pole in the Porsche Cup division, ahead of their sister car, the 911, that will start from 11th place. Then we're into the GT4s, the front row locked out by RTR Projects and a couple of KTM crossbows, 224 out qualifying 226. That was the Thomas Enger car, slightly quicker than the Mini Burger piloted machine. 2 more 991 class cars, Duvo Racing and Speed Level will start 14th and 15th overall. And then to the back of the grid, 4 more GT4s, Pro Sport Performances, Aston Martin, taken back out during the session by Nico Verdonk to jump back ahead of the Zhenkeo Motorsport BMW M4 that will start from 17th. The Hoffa Racing M4 18th, and then the QSR Racing School Mercedes to start from 19th position.
So Johnny Palmer with the results there as we look back on the action from the 2 qualifying sessions here at BRNO, the Czech Republic. Beautiful weather has been part of our morning already today, but there's no grip on the track. Is it sand? Is it just the surface? We're not sure. But the front-wheel drive cars in particular, tremendously spectacular, almost looking like rear drive cars, the way that they were being thrown around by the drivers earlier on, and everybody seeing just how difficult it was to control those cars. I don't think I've honestly seen front drive cars in dry weather, Johnny Palmer, sliding around just as much as we saw it there.
No, it certainly will stand in my memory as something very, very unusual indeed. The dust that plenty of people have spoken about since then, makes a lot of sense. And I have to say, through the back section of the track, so around turns 5, 6, 7 and 8, when cars have been offline, the slower cars to allow the GTs through, I mean, it is like a dust cloud in effect on some of the straights, and that's only going to get worse overnight as well. You know, you think you've done 3 hours of this race, then it's going to be a completely green track 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
We thought the GT cars with the rear-wheel drive would do better, but they didn't. But well done to young Mr. Winkelhock for getting it all together and taking that pole position by, in the end, just over a 10.5 from the similar car of Olymp Racing. As far as our sound and vision is concerned, we'll be down on the grid with all the atmosphere. I'm going to be doing that this weekend instead of... Oh, no, I'm not. Nick's decided he's going to do it again. So Nick Damon will be on the grid for one of his famous grid walks. We'll be kicking that off at 3:30 Central European time. That's 2:30 in the UK. If you go onto radio-show.co.uk, then you will get the times in your own time zone. From Johnny, from Paul, from Nick and from Joe, I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks very much for joining us. We've got an intriguing first 3 hours of the Hankook 12 Hours of BRNO to come from the Automotodrome here at BRNO. You will not want to miss any of this Friday as we set up for the 9 hours tomorrow, 3 hours this afternoon. Join us at 3:30 CET. Bye-bye. Welcome to the Endurance Road Racing Series for GT and Touring cars. With the champion of the continent, European Championship, TCR Spa 500 and TCR Middle East, that's 12 races across 3 continents. The best endurance racing experience for everyone. Welcome to the world of endurance. This is endurance.